Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. Today's video is about seeing value. It's one of my very favorite exercises, and this is a very simple exercise. I've already gotten started here just so you could get an idea of what I'm up to. So what you have before you is a color photo of John Kensit's painting called Eaton's Neck. I think it was painted in 1870. And I love this painting because it's an excellent example of a very simple value design. A strong value design is a painting that is designed with a deliberate, disproportionate arrangement of value families. A value family is light, dark, and midtone. So if you look at the value scale to the left, which is my outdoor value scale, you can see there are 5 values. 5 is your lightest light, 1 is your darkest dark, 3 is your midtone, and then there are two other midtones, a dark and a light midtone. Just to alleviate any confusion as to the numerical designation of values, here's a good way to remember it. 5 is a high number, and white is high key. 1 is a low number, and dark is low key. The Impressionists painted high key. The sky is high, so is the number 5. The earth is dark, and it is low, and so is the number 1. So high key, think like high in the sky, light. Low key, think low to the ground and dark. Okay, in any case, if most paintings pass or fail within the first 15 minutes, it is because of the Holy Trinity, and most people are so eager to get to painting, they don't slow down and design their paintings. And that's what I hope this exercise will help you do, is to stop, look at your photo reference, squint your eyes, see color as value, and then begin the execution of the painting. 85% of the success or failure of the painting relies on this strong value plan. Look at Kensit's painting here. You can see, if you squint your eyes, there are 4 very strong definitive values. And if you look at the shape I just painted is a value 4. It's the sky, right? Which, by the way, I have pre-mixed all 5 values. And when you are pre-mixing your values, and I recommend you do that before you paint, and I pre-mix with a palette knife. And if you hold your palette knife up to your value scale, you can see quite readily where you are in terms of your value strategy. So this is a value 4. You can see it's so much lighter than a value 3, and it's too dark to be a value 5, and so on. So by using your palette knife, holding it up to your value scale, you can add black or white to darken and lighten to get it exactly where you want it. Now, in Kensit's painting, the sky is a 4, but I see it as a little bit lighter, like maybe a 4.5, so I've added a little bit more white. Okay, so this is a very simple exercise. You'll need your Ruby Beholder, which is this transparent piece of plastic which enables you to look at your color reference, whether you're out in nature looking at a motif, or if you are in the studio looking at a photograph, you can look through your Ruby Beholder and remove color, thereby just enabling you to see just in terms of black and white. So a good value arrangement, when you want to be a good designer, is simply a deliberate, disproportionate arrangement of these 3 value families. Your dark family, your light family, and your midtones. One should dominate. I started with the sky here to illustrate this very first point. If you squint your eyes and look at the Kensit painting, you'll see that the sky is the dominant value here. In other words, it takes up more space per square inch in the painting than any of the other value families, right? So this painting is dominated by the lights, the light midtones, right? A good way to remember this is, remember the idea that paintings derive their interest from a deliberate, disproportionate arrangement of a value plan is, think in terms of the Papa Bear, the Mama Bear, and the Baby Bear. So this painting, which is dominated by this light value sky, is the Papa Bear. And then to a lesser degree, you could say probably the water takes up the second most amount of real estate. And that is, from my view, a value 2. I think as it gets closer to the shore, it turns into a value 3. So it goes sky, water, and then this landmass here, I think takes up more real estate than the sand itself. This, of course, is a dark, which would be a 1 value, and the sand looks like a value 5 to me. Very simple 4 major shapes of value in this arrangement. I love this painting. It's a panorama. It happens to be in the Met. I saw it once back in the day visiting the Met in New York City, and it is fairly small. I want to guess maybe 18 by 36 or something like that. It's a panorama. That means it's twice as long as it is tall. It's 2 squares. Boom, boom. Okay, so I'm using a different brush to paint the sky than I will other parts of the painting, just so I don't contaminate my brushes. Strategically, when you're executing a painting, you know, I typically start with the darks, but because the sky mass is so large, it's also valid to work from back to front. It's also valid to work from the largest mass onto the second and third and so on. So because the sky happens to be in the back, it made sense just to start with the sky. But strategically, I will never step on your toes. We need to find our own ways, I suppose. Okay, so squinting my eyes, I see the water mass is a value 2. I'm using a different brush. Now, I am squinting my eyes. It would be perfectly fine to paint the entire water mass as a value 2. But, you know, I do see that it does get a little bit lighter towards the shore. It's a value 3 as far as I see it. And so, you know, it's a fairly quick exercise. So I'm going to go ahead and do that just to play nice. I'm also using liquid in my paint. I'm just using black and white oil paint and a little liquid. So I see that it transitions right about here. The paint begins to fade from a value 2 to a value 3. Remember, when you're painting, you want to use the right brush that's going to do the job for you. So I need to get in this little thin area here. And so that's a pretty good brush. It's new, so the hairs in this brush are not ruined yet. It just takes a few paintings to ruin a brush typically. So I will stop this value right here. I might weave a little bit of it in there. I'll use the same brush for this. It's because it's so close to the, it's just 1 value away, or almost half a value. It's a pretty good transition in terms of a gradation. It's a smooth gradation. Remember, these smooth gradations fall under the category of a lost and found edge, right? So gradation, where this water transitions from a value 2 to a value 3, it's subtly executed. So it's really nice, a sensitivity to seeing and execution on behalf of Kensett. Nice brushwork there. And so here is value 3. And it's pretty close in value, particularly if you squint your eyes. But I will start with pure paint, and I won't let these 2 pieces of paint touch each other until the end. I want pure value 3 here and pure value 2 next to it. So as they get closer, then I will let them play. I'll let them play nice. And I'll sort of weave one into the other. And there's less paint on the brush. Now I'm sort of letting them sort of mix into one another. And I will slowly weave this back until it disappears. You see that? Voila. Could even get a little bit lighter there if I wanted to, but that's fine. This is just a simple little exercise. We'll leave the subtlety to more ambitious paintings. But okay. So a strong value plan falls under one of the academic rules or principles that says a strong painting will have 5 or fewer major value shapes, right? So the major shapes are the big shapes, the shapes you see with squinted eyes, not the minor shapes. I don't even know if you can see it on this screen, but in the very, very background of this painting, there are some little teeny things on the landmass. You almost can't see them. Those are minor shapes. Those would not fall into the category of major shapes, right? So a strong value plan is a picture plane or a composition that has 5 or fewer major shapes. In this case, when you squint your eyes, you don't even really have to squint. Kenzip gives us 4 excellent shapes, 4 easy to see value shapes. Okay, I see this shape, which is often has been referred to as the beak. It looks like the beak of a bird. This is the darkest dark. It's a value 1. As that value 1, I'm going to use a different brush. It's just a smaller one just to kind of weave in there. As that value 1 makes its way towards the edge, it gets a little bit lighter. You could call it a value 1.5, for example, right? So it's not exactly, here's the 1, but as it gets closer to this area, it looks like it's maybe somewhere between the 1 and the 2. So, you know, we will do that. We will do that. And this exercise, you know, I've already pre-mixed the paint, and I have a very simple composition. The more complex the composition, the longer it will take you because there's more moving parts to it. But I love this one for its clarity. It's an excellent painting to sort of use as a teaching tool because it's all really clear. And it gives you confidence if you're going to try this one. And this is the one we'll have you do in class. It's a fun exercise. And we can broaden how complex they get as we go on and become more ambitious as painters. I'm lightening the value just a little bit. This is what I'm talking about. It's not quite a 1 here in these areas you can see. It's like a 1.5, we'll call it. Who's going to argue, right? At the end of the day, it comes down to subtlety of how you're seeing and how you're executing. That looks pretty good. So a strong value plan or a strong composition has 5 or fewer major shapes. But not only are they major shapes of disproportionate values, right? So we have a value 4 dominates, that's the Papa Bear. The water is the Mama Bear, and there's 2 baby bears here, right? Of a varying degree. I think the beak is bigger than the beach itself. Heading over to the beach, I have it as a value 5. High key. See, even I still mess that up sometimes. Value 5. Sky is high. High key, high number. So this is white from the tube. I don't think it is actually white. So we're going to use a little common sense. We'll put a teeny bit of the gray into it. But it's pretty white. Okay. So the idea is to use the right brush for the job. This paintbrush is probably ready to go out to pasture. Look at the tip of that. That should be a nice flat tip to get this tip here. So I will use a maul stick here. And just bear with me. I probably should have just used just the new brush. But okay. You get the idea. So as I was saying, not only is a strong composition a composition that possesses 5 or fewer major shapes, I want you to also consider that those, as you observe the major shapes here, and yes, they are varied in their ratios of values, and it's a pretty good division of ratio. Kenzip has done an excellent job here. But it's also, you can also add tensions by varying the axis of now this is a very modern design here, in my opinion. Everything seems to be pretty horizontal. There's really no verticals in here, is there? You have some diagonals and you have some horizontals. Okay, so now that was a clean brush with a number 1 on it. When the brush is contaminated now slightly, I can sort of weave it into areas like this and get those sort of halftones, you know, values within values, that kind of thing. Can enliven some areas, add subtlety. Like on the shoreline, for example. So this brush is slightly contaminated, but that's good. If I draw it over, if I pull it into that value next to it, it sort of creates its own transitional value between the two of them. And I can use that to create this sort of soft edge shoreline. All right, and I'll even throw in a little detail there. I see on the beach there is like seaweed. Okay, and there you go. For all intents and purposes, we have a value representation of John Kensett's Eaton's Neck. I hope that was helpful. Keep it simple. The objective here is just to simply look at your color reference, whether it's a color photo or nature, squint your eyes, look through the Ruby Beholder, so you're just seeing your color reference or nature in terms of value plans, major shapes of values. Premix your values and go for it. Thank you very much.